superfoods or health foods or whatever, what do they mean? Well, usually they're just a sales funnel so people can sell their special extract of the food. But it's like, dude, just eat the food. So today we're going to be ranking them, so grab yourself a pre-worky and we'll get into it. So let's ask my favorite little robot Claude to give me 30 health foods. Putting that in now. Like, please give me pre-worky to put on the list. I don't see any pre-worky. But anyway, we've got those foods now, so bang, here's our tier list. Why wait? Let's keep going. So first up, walnuts. The micronutrient spreads occur. You get some manganese, some iron, some protein. But the main thing here is the omega-3s. My last video was about seed oils, and essentially omega-3 is going to protect you from overdosing on omega-6, which could be pro-inflammatory. So these are very helpful in the modern diet because omega-6 is everywhere with the seed oils, but yeah, it's pretty good. I'll put it in B tier for that. Bear in mind here, like, these foods are all good, okay? So D tier still means it's still a good food, okay? So relax. Next up is garlic, and garlic's called a health food because of this thing called allicin, which is supposedly meant to help with some blood lipids management, but the evidence I looked into was quite weak. Additionally, all the allicin's lost when you cook it, when you heat it up, and even if you don't heat it up, it'll disintegrate after, because it's activated when you crushed it, but it'll not be there the next day, it'll decompose, so yeah, I'm not too sold there. It's not bad. Again, these are all fine, okay? Don't get at me. Okay, so you'll see a common trend with these foods, anti-inflammatories, and blueberries are probably the strongest anti-inflammatory food you can get, and for that, straight into S tier. I think managing inflammation is one of the best things you can do for your health. I'm really passionate about cognition and how we can better cognition through your lifestyle and diet, and countering inflammation is one of the things you can do to really bump up your inflammation as well, like disease burden, all sorts of good stuff. So I love anti-inflammatories. Next up is green tea. I like green tea, but I don't know if I'd call it a health food. Based on the research I looked into, if you have this in water at about 100 degrees, the extraction point maxes out at about 120 of these antioxidants. 120 minutes, that is, so 2 hours. So it's a bit of a pain. I mean, you can get most of it out after an hour, but still, at the end of the day, coffee just has more. So yeah, I'm not too sold here. Oats, there's nothing crazy going on. It's just such a nice micronutrient and I guess macronutrient spread. It's a really nice sorts of carbs, and it's got some protein in there, of course. It's got fiber, it's got iron, it's got magnesium. It's such a good micronutrient spread for such a low price and something that's really easy to fit into your diet. So just for that, I'm going to put it in C tier. I don't want to put it any higher because it's not got any like special compounds in there, which a lot of these other things do have. Okay, next up is turmeric, and this is stacked with polyphenols, which are antioxidants, like a lot of these things in this list. I think because it's so easy to add into your diet, I'm going to put it straight into A tier. You can also improve the absorption by 2000% if you just put some black pepper in. So literally anything you're making, just throw in some turmeric, some black pepper, pretty good. Some people will say it does block DHT, and that might result in some dropped energy levels for some men. But if you're a guy, just try it out. I mean, I don't notice any difference, but for females, it works for everyone. So yeah, turmeric's pretty solid. So avocado, I think, gets more attention than it should. It's still a pretty good food. It's got fiber, vitamin C, omega-3, but the thing that stands out is the vitamin E content, which is another antioxidant. You see what Claude was doing here, pulling up these foods. And omega-3 is very powerful nowadays because there's so much omega-6, but I'm going to put it in C tier just because I want to put almonds even higher. And I'm putting almonds above that because the vitamin E content per gram of almonds is like 10-fold what it is in avocado, which is such a powerful antioxidant. Additionally, almonds are just cheap wherever you go, so that's fantastic, easy snack. So good. As well, you're getting like a bunch of good minerals, some protein in there too. Great food. Actually, yeah, let's put almonds even higher because, man, some of these superfoods can be a little bit expensive and almonds are not, so it wins points. Next up is sweet potato. Nothing wrong with these at all. They've got some vitamin A, some vitamin C, some B vitamins like a lot of vegetables do. A nice micronutrient spread, but it's got nothing crazy going on. Good to have in your diet, but I wouldn't call it a superfood. Next up is kale, and then one after that is spinach. I'm going to put kale, I'll put it in C tier, I'll explain. So kale and leafy greens in general usually have vitamin C, K. Kale's got a bit of those sweet omega-3s, which is lovely. It's very micronutrient dense, so I'll put it in B. They can be very helpful if you're trying to lose weight because they're going to fill you up as well. Green vegetables usually have higher thylakoid content, which I did a whole video on, which can help you lose weight as well via GLP-1 agonism. But the reason I'm putting spinach higher Honestly, I'm going to put spinach in S tier, one of the staples in my diet. Because a lot of people talk about kale, but spinach has more vitamin A, more iron, more omega-3. You get the point. Additionally, it has ictesterone, which, although it's in lower quantities compared to something like quinoa, can help with some of your muscle growth and performance. If you buy frozen, it will maintain more weight as well when you cook it. So man, spinach is so good. Next up is salmon, and like most meats, it's got nice protein and a pretty good spread of minerals. But the thing that stands out so much is the omega-3 and the vitamin D content, because these are so hard. Well, they're a bit harder than other micronutrients to get from fruit foods, and you know, vitamin D, if we're not getting them from the sun, we need it from our diet, which can be quite hard to get. We need it for, you know, testosterone in males, immunity, bone health, all sorts. And as I said, omega-3 for managing inflammation. You're getting that protein and all those minerals as well, so fantastic. Of course, it's a bit expensive. I guess you can go for canned salmon, but man, so good. Next up is eggs, and the fitness community loves eggs. It's got good protein. We know that. It's caught some flack in the past for raising cholesterol, but we know now that dietary cholesterol doesn't really affect your blood cholesterol directly, so there's that. It's got vitamin E and D in good quantities, which, as I've said, are a little harder to get. But the main thing standing out is choline, okay? It's quite hard to get from foods that aren't meats. There's not really anything close aside from eggs that aren't meats. And we need choline as a precursor to acetylcholine, which can help with dopamine levels, so it's good for mood and mental health and mental cognition. So starting off your day with some eggs is a pretty good way to go. Next up is lentils, another sort of food that's got nothing, you know, insane, crazy molecules going on. It's got some nice protein, some fiber, some iron in there. It's a great source of iron for vegans, actually. It's also cheap. Just another like good staple to have in your diet. Next up is olive oil, and this can vary a bit. In my eyes, olive oil is the best cooking oil. I actually sleep in a puddle of it to improve absorption. And if you want to go even further, you can go cold pressed extra virgin olive oil in a dark bottle. This will have even more vitamin E, but olive oil in general, more omega-3, so good for inflammation and countering the modern high omega-6 seed oil diet, so it's got that going for it too. No free radicals if you've watched my seed oil video, so just because it's so good as far as a cooking oil, and most people are going to pick a cooking oil for their diet, yeah, pretty good. Next up is pre-worky. I'm going to put pre-worky straight into S tier. Pomegranate's got a pretty standard fruit spread for micronutrients. It's got these things called egalitannins, which are also antioxidants or anti-inflammatories. But the problem is these don't get absorbed. They get processed to egalic acid, which also doesn't absorb that well. There is some evidence for it, but it's quite weak. And if you're just going to add a fruit to manage inflammation, why not just do blueberries? So I'll put it in C tier, I guess. Beetroot is kind of interesting. It's got pretty strong antioxidant qualities, but it's also got vasodilation qualities. So beetroot juice, I think at the last Commonwealth Games they were running at a shortage of it because all the endurance athletes wanted it to improve performance. So for that, it's a pretty cool utility. I'll put it in B tier. So flax seeds and chia seeds both have a stupid amount of omega-3, which is so good at countering the modern diet. Minerals like iron, zinc, magnesium are always great to have. And also they're pretty cheap and versatile, so I'm going to put these both together. Chia seeds is actually even higher in iron, so if you're vegan, get into the chia seeds, because iron can be quite hard to get if you're vegan. I was going to pick these up last time I was at the grocery store, but I couldn't find them. I'm going to go back with a vengeance, because after making this video and the last video, like, I need these in my diet, okay? Next up is quinoa. Oh, sweet quinoa. So it's got omega-3 fiber, some protein, iron, magnesium. It's so good. Additionally, it's the best source of ictesterone, which I talked about with the spinach. Great if you're trying to like improve performance and build muscle, build strength. Absolute staple for me. Straight in there. Oh, I don't want to split up the seeds, I'll put it there. Okay, next up, Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt, nothing crazy here. Some protein depending on what brand you buy. I guess some calcium. Nothing wrong with it, but I wouldn't call it a superfood. Next up is kefir. It looks like milk. Kefir is like live culture yogurt pretty much. It's usually a bit more liquid. But the thing is, it has the things that the Greek yogurt had, except it's got actual live culture bacteria, which is fantastic for gut health. Gut health is not focused on enough. It has so many wide effects. Immunity and cognition are two of the big ones in my eyes. Surprisingly, like gut bacteria affects cognition. It's crazy. Mental health. Just for that, A tier, straight up. Next up, broccoli. Just before we get into broccoli, if you are enjoying this and finding it informative, Be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. It's free and I'd love to have you on board. So let's carry on with broccoli. So broccoli is just a good all-round vegetable, nice micronutrient spread. It's got those sweet thylakoids if you're trying to manage weight. Yeah, nothing crazy going on, just a pretty solid vegetable. I'll put it in C tier. Great vegetable though. Seaweed. This is really weird, okay? I covered this in my seafood video, which I went diving for some seafood. It's just there if you want to check it out, but really weird. It has vitamin E, K, and I think some Bs. It's also got a stupid amount of iron, even like 10 grams of this. Of course, you can't eat too much because it's dried. It's really low weight per package. But even 10 grams gets you a bit of the way with iron, particularly if you're vegan. Of course, plant sources are going to be less bioavailable, but honestly, really cool. I'll put it in C tier. Sardines. These are infamous for giving Joe Rogan like mild arsenic poisoning because apparently he was just eating so many of them. With any fish, just don't go crazy about it, particularly with the bigger fish because then you're running into mercury risk, but I don't think sardines are very high in mercury. Good vitamin D, E, and omega-3s, which as I said are really hard to get. So sardines honestly A tier. I'd love to add them into my diet, but I just don't want to eat sardines, so we'll leave them there. I guess we'll keep it below salmon just for that. If you love sardines, more power to you though. Apple cider vinegar, just stop it. The evidence is very weak. Some might say it can improve fasting glucose and maybe your LDL cholesterol, but the evidence is so weak, and especially with all these other foods beside it, like just pick something else. Next up is kimchi, which is fermented cabbage. Again, fermented foods are great for gut health. So for that I won't put it too low. I'll put it in B tier, some bonus vitamin C and K just because it's cabbage, but I think fermented foods are just always a great thing to have in your diet for that gut health. So neglected. Everyone's so focused on like protein intake, but dude, get some antioxidants and some probiotics in there. You'll be feeling better than you would with higher protein, okay? So cacao is interesting because it has really high flavonoid content, which can help with inflammation, but it's hard to know how much is actually kept in that processing for it. You might have to find a brand that actually can verify that. And even then you might have to eat quite a bit of it unless you're going for pure cacao powder. But if you eat quite a bit of it, you can't do that because you might have cadmium or lead poisoning. So nothing against dark chocolate, but just if you want to get a lot of the benefits out of the antioxidant qualities, you might run into the heavy metal poisoning. I mean, if you can verify that it's high flavonoid, I would put it probably like A tier, but I'll put it in C tier. It really depends, okay? Next up is bone broth. It's pretty much just water. I mean, if you like it, fair enough. And lastly, ginger. So ginger actually has a crazy amount of manganese and iron, like very, very high, but the issue is you don't sit down and have like a bowl of ginger, do you? It has these interesting compounds called like gingerols and a few other antioxidants, but the evidence is quite weak. If you want to manage inflammation, you can go for literally half of the other things on this list. So this is kind of where I'm ending up. I'm pretty happy with that. If you have any other superfoods you want me to get back to you on that weren't on this list, just drop a comment and I'll get back to you. But anyway, again, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd love to have you on board. But that's been me. I'll see you next time.